Hey everybody, John Skiba here from the Arizona Consumer Law Group. I'm also founder of the Consumer Warrior Project. I want to do a quick video today. There was a new ruling out of the Arizona Court of Appeals just yesterday. I'm recording this on March 3rd of 2017. That talks about the statute of limitations when it comes to credit card debt. Now, this is one of the most confused area of the law for most people, lawyers, non-lawyers, everybody, when it comes to the statute of limitations as it applies to credit cards in Arizona. And the reason why is because the law has not been very clear on this, and even the courts haven't been very clear. Well, they issued a new decision today that does clarify things, but it really has been a terrible decision for consumers. I wanted to discuss why and how it could impact you if you're dealing with debt problems. Now, the statute of limitations, what this law is, this is the amount of time that a creditor has to file a debt collection lawsuit against you if you stop paying on a particular debt. Now, the reason why there's been so much confusion in Arizona about these particular types of claims and the statute of limitations and how it relates to them is because originally the law said that there was a 3-year statute of limitations on open accounts and a 6-year statute of limitations on disputes where there's a written contract involved. Now, credit cards are generally viewed as open accounts because you're not loaning a specific amount. You know, you're putting a charge on the card, you're paying it off. You're putting the charge on, you're paying it off. So it's more of an open revolving account. So it would seem on its face that the 3-year statute would apply to that. However, the Arizona legislature amended the statutes a number of years back and now states specifically that a credit card is subject to a 6-year statute of limitations. The reason why this new decision came out today is because there was some question as far as when does that 6-year period begin to run. And generally, I mean, the approach that I've often taken is whenever the credit card person goes into default, whenever you stop making payments on it, usually the terms and conditions of the credit card state that at that point you're in default and they could sue you if they wanted to sue you. And so that's when it would start. The debt collectors often took the position that it was when the card was charged off, which is usually 4 to 6 months later. They charge it off and say that the full balance is due at that point. Well, what the Court of Appeals in Arizona did yesterday is they came out and said that the 6-year time period, as far as when the clock starts ticking for that creditor to file a lawsuit against you, I'm going to read it to you specifically. The case, by the way, is called Maritola versus Santos, and it was just issued out of the Division I Arizona Court of Appeals on March 2nd. And what the court said there, if I can read it to you just real quick, it said a cardholder's failure to make a minimum monthly credit card payment does not trigger the statute of limitations on a claim for the entire unpaid balance of the account. So that was a position that I had often taken was, hey, if you don't make a payment, you're technically in default. They have the right to sue you. This is when the 6 years starts ticking. The court said that's not the case. What they said is that the limitation period does not begin to run until the lender accelerates the debt or otherwise demands payment in full. And what they mean by that is that the credit card company, they have to say, hey, the full balance is due now and you got to pay it all. That the statute doesn't run until they say that. And later on in the case, they make something else that's even more troubling to me. They say that not only did they have to accelerate the loan, they have to say, okay, the full balance is due. You can't just pay the minimum monthly payments anymore. You got to pay the full balance. They come in and they say that there's a requirement that the credit card has to notify the consumer that they're seeking the full balance. So the fact that they just charged off, that if a credit card company just charges off the account or they accelerate the account and say that the full balance is due, if they don't also notify the consumer, the statute doesn't start ticking until they do both of those things. The reason why that's a big problem, particularly in this world of debt buying that we have now, where most credit card companies do collections for a 90 to 180 day period and then sell the debt off. The reason why it's a problem that this new case poses is because now it's not just 6 years you have to worry about them coming to sue you. It's really whenever they decide that the full balance is due and they notify you of it. If they don't do either of those things, the 6 years has not started. And the issue I have with that is that it puts all the power for the statute of limitations beginning to run in the hands of the credit card companies. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out, because essentially this could revive a lot of old cases, give creditors a lot more time to file than they might. They could sit on these things for quite a while. The court says, that there's no economic incentive for these creditors to delay, when I think there is, because we see that, particularly with debt buying cases, they'll sit on these things for years. Interest will continue to accrue for years with many of them, and often at very high interest rates, like 25 and 30%. Then they file suit 5.5 years into it to make sure they're within the statute of limitations. Because to be clear, if they don't file their case within the statute of limitations, they're barred forever from doing it. So really troubling case coming out of the Court of Appeals here in Arizona. Not consumer friendly at all. It's going to give creditors a lot more time to be able to determine when that statute of limitations starts to run, and a lot more time to file suits on it. So if you want to learn more about debt collection lawsuits, things you can do with debt, I've written a ton of articles over at my website, over at consumerwarrior.com. You can head on over to there. I have about 500 articles. I also wrote up a whole new thing on this today. You can learn more about this statute of limitations case and what it might mean for you and your debt collection case. So thanks for watching today.